Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. It's truly wonderful to connect with all of you again, and to share another story from the heart. Thank you so much for consistently taking the time to watch and support the channel. Your presence, your engagement, and your encouragement mean the world to us and help these narratives find their way to more people. I wish each of you abundant health, a peaceful and fulfilling day, and a heart brimming with joy and contentment. If this happens to be your first time visiting, a warm welcome to our community. Please don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. This way, you won't miss any of the captivating stories and unique perspectives we have coming your way, designed to touch your spirit and spark your imagination. In today's video, we're about to delve into a narrative woven with unexpected twists, profound emotions, and the quiet strength of human connection. I genuinely encourage you to stay with us until the very end to fully discover the intricate layers of what unfolds. That afternoon, the sky, which had for so long held a gentle, unwavering calm, a canvas of pale blue stretching serenely over the modest home, began to lose its pristine, serene composure. The air, typically alive with the rustle of leaves and distant village sounds, grew oddly muted, a precursor to the shift. From the distant, brooding mountains, somber gray clouds slowly, inexorably began to gather. They didn't just appear. They crawled across the horizon, bruised masses of heavy wool rolling in, layer upon heavy layer, like vast, oppressive curtains steadily drawing across the sun's fading golden light, threatening to swallow it whole. The very air grew strangely still, thick with a peculiar quiet descending upon the landscape, an almost unnatural hush, as if nature itself held its breath in silent anticipation of some imminent, formidable event. A subtle pressure built in the atmosphere, a palpable tension. Truc Lam remained in her familiar, small woven bamboo chair, a tiny anchor in the shifting, uncertain world. It was her usual perch, where she would typically spend hours absorbed in the mundane wonders of their courtyard. But today her eyes were no longer fixated on the delicate dance of the fluttering leaves in the soft breeze, or the simple bamboo toys that usually captivated her with their innocent charm. No, her gaze had lifted, drawn by a primal curiosity. She looked up at the sky. She gazed for a long, quiet moment, her young mind perhaps trying to fathom the immense, shifting canvas above her. There was a nascent wonder, and a touch of something akin to awe in her wide, unblinking eyes. Her tiny hands lifted, not reaching for a specific, tangible object as was her habit, but rather as if attempting to touch something vast and distant, something utterly unknown to her young experience. The very edge of the world, perhaps, or the mysterious incoming clouds themselves. It was a gesture of innocent yearning, of nascent exploration. Behind her, Trieu Duong stood, a silent, watchful sentinel. He observed his daughter with a familiar tenderness, mixed now with a subtle recognition of something profound occurring within her. He recognized the shift. His daughter's world, it was expanding, visibly and irrevocably. No longer confined to the comforting, familiar boundaries of their small, sun-drenched courtyard, it had begun to reach out, beyond the protective walls, towards the boundless, intimidating expanse of the heavens themselves. It was a beautiful, yet terrifying awakening. "What are you looking at, Truc Lam?" he asked softly, his voice barely a whisper against the strangely gathering stillness, a gentle inquiry that broke the silent communion between his daughter and the sky. But before he could even anticipate an answer, before the words had fully left his lips, drip, a single cold raindrop fell, landing with an almost audible splat on the dry earth. Then another, tracing a silent path down a leaf. And then a sudden forceful gust of wind, like an unseen giant exhaling sharply, swept through their courtyard. Whoosh! The bamboo groves, which moments before had stood gracefully, swayed violently, their myriad leaves rustling with an agitated, almost ferocious sound, a frantic whisper of warning. The clothesline in the corner of the yard shuddered and whipped aggressively in the gale, its hempen rope groaning under the sudden strain. Trieu Duong started, his attention snapping instantly from his daughter to the drying laundry. His heart lurched with a sudden cold dread. Truc Lam's small clothes, they were still out there, hanging vulnerable, utterly exposed to the elements. Her soft, pale fabric shirt, her tiny trousers, all still carrying the fleeting warmth of the midday sun, now threatened by the looming storm. He hadn't had time to bring them in, caught up in the quiet contemplation of his daughter. "This won't do," he muttered, the words grim and urgent. He moved quickly, a sudden desperate urgency propelling him forward across the courtyard. But at that precise moment, an even stronger, more violent gust of wind ripped through the yard, a veritable tempest. Whoosh! The clothesline was violently jerked, snapping taut, then flinging wildly. The tiny garments sprang from their fragile wooden clips, tossed into the tumultuous air like discarded feathers, then plunged directly onto the already damp, muddy ground below with sickening certainty. Thwack thwack! At the exact same instant, the rain began to pour. No longer scattered, hesitant drops, but a thick, unrelenting curtain of cold, gray water, a sudden, overwhelming deluge that enveloped everything. Trieu Duong paused for a beat, his sprint momentarily arrested by the sheer force of the downpour and the stark reality of the situation. Then he lunged forward, a futile dash into the pounding rain. But it was all too late. The clothes lay on the ground, rapidly soaking through, already stained with dark, clinging mud, utterly, hopelessly drenched. They were small, sad bundles of fabric, defeated by the storm. He stooped down, his knees sinking slightly into the softening earth, picking up each sodden, heavy piece. The once light, clean fabric now felt laden with the weight of misfortune. Rainwater streamed relentlessly down his hair, along his shoulders, down his arms, chilling him to the bone. It was cold, a biting cold that seeped into his skin, yet he scarcely felt it. His physical discomfort was overshadowed by a more pressing agony. What he felt most acutely was a rising tide of anxiety, a cold, cloying dread that settled deep in his chest. He gently squeezed the bundles of clothes in his hands, trying in vain to wring out some of the excess water. They felt heavy, not just with the absorbed rainwater, but with a profound weight of worry, a tangible manifestation of his helplessness and his deepest fears for his child. He turned his head to look towards the porch, his eyes searching through the deluge. Truc Lam was still sitting there, small, motionless, bewildered, her wide eyes staring out at the violent rain, unable to truly grasp its significance. She didn't understand what was happening, didn't comprehend the silent battle her father was fighting. She didn't know that those few simple, now ruined garments were all she possessed in the world. Trieu Duong walked slowly back into the house, his movements heavy with a weary resignation, placing the pile of wet, muddy clothes down on the packed earth floor near the entrance. Water dripped onto the floor from the sodden fabric, each soft, distinct drip echoing distinctly in the sudden, quiet stillness of the room, a rhythmic reminder of their predicament. He stood motionless for a few seconds, rain still glistening on his hair and clothes, his mind reeling. His gaze fixed on the world outside, a blurred gray curtain beyond their open doorway. The rain still fell, growing heavier, more relentless with each passing moment, transforming the familiar landscape into a watery, indistinguishable canvas. The road leading down to the city, their only link to the outside world. It must surely be turning into a muddy, impassable mess by now. A treacherous path of deep ruts and clinging mud. If this rain continued, it could last for days, trapping them in their isolated dwelling, severing them from any hope of assistance or supplies. He shook his head softly, a gesture of profound helplessness. We can't go anywhere. His voice was low, heavy with resignation, barely above a murmur, but laced with an almost desperate despair. It was a worry so real, so commonplace in its essence for many, yet so monumentally pressing for him at that precise moment. He had no other clothes for her, no means to acquire them.
Truc Lam nét rì cà lót.
Urgently, she needed to stay warm, protected from the chilling dampness that now permeated everything. Otherwise, his little girl could fall ill, and in their remote, impoverished circumstances, illness could be catastrophic. Trieu Duong bent down, his hands tender as he lifted his daughter into his arms, pulling her close to his chest, enveloping her in the warmth of his own body. It's okay, everything will be okay, he whispered, his voice a soft, comforting rumble against her ear, as if soothing not only her unspoken anxieties but also the tumultuous storm raging within himself. He needed to believe it too. But even after he had gently placed her on their simple bed and carefully tucked the thin blanket around her, ensuring she was as snug as possible, he didn't immediately leave her side. He couldn't. His eyes slowly scanned the simple, sparse furnishings of their humble home, seeking inspiration, seeking a solution where none seemed to exist. Bamboo, wood, stone, and the hearth. A small corner built of rough-hewn stone, where a faint, persistent glow of embers still smoldered from midday's cooking, a fragile spark of warmth in the deepening gloom. He looked at it a moment longer than anything else, a flicker of thought igniting in his mind, tracing a connection. Then, his eyes suddenly sharpened, focusing with an intense clarity that banished the despair. An idea sparked, quick, clear, and filled with fierce, unyielding determination, born of a father's protective love. If there's no sun, he murmured to himself, the words a quiet vow against the howling storm outside, a declaration of intent. Then I will create the sun. Trieu Duong immediately set to work, his movements precise and purposeful, fueled by this new resolve. He coaxed the lingering embers back to vibrant life, blowing gently, stirring, encouraging the fire to burn more steadily, more brightly. Dry firewood, precious and carefully hoarded, was added one piece at a time, each placement calculated to maximize the flame without overwhelming the small space. The flame grew gradually, flickering and dancing with renewed vigor, radiating a palpable, comforting warmth throughout the small dwelling, pushing back against the encroaching chill. He took the bamboo poles he had prepared earlier for various tasks, and with remarkable ingenuity, constructed a small makeshift frame directly above the hearth, securing it with strips of twine and carefully balancing the weight. Not too low to prevent the delicate fabric from scorching or catching fire. Not too high to ensure the heat would effectively reach and permeate the damp garments. He carefully, almost reverently, hung each tiny garment onto the bamboo frame, spreading them out to catch the maximum warmth. Smoothing out the wrinkles with gentle fingers, he handled them with the same tender precision he would use to care for his own cherished child, understanding their vital importance. Water dripped from the clothes, falling with soft hisses onto the warm stone near the fire, rising as faint, ethereal wisps of steam, a visual confirmation of the drying process. The space slowly warmed, transforming from a chilly, damp cave into a haven of burgeoning heat. The scent of damp fabric mingled with the comforting, earthy smell of wood smoke and the dry, clean aroma of bamboo, creating a unique fragrance, a humble but profoundly authentic essence of their home, a scent now infused with hope and a father's tireless effort. Trieu Duong sat down beside the hearth, settling into a quiet, unwavering vigil. His eyes never left the clothes, his gaze a constant protective shield. He constantly adjusted the fire, adding more wood when needed, tending to it with an almost sacred focus. He shifted the distance of the frame, tilting the clothes ever so slightly, ensuring an even distribution of heat. Even a slight oversight, and the clothes, their last hope for warmth, could catch fire, reducing all his efforts to ash. Or they might not get warm enough to dry properly, condemning Truc Lam to the cold. The stakes were too high. Behind him on the bed, Truc Lam lay still, her wide eyes fixed on her father, watching his every move with a quiet intensity. The firelight reflected in her innocent gaze, sparkling softly, like tiny stars born of the hearth's glow. Perhaps she didn't fully comprehend the complex challenges, but she felt it, the warmth that slowly seeped into the room, the safety that emanated from her father's steadfast presence. And something else, something deeply familiar and comforting, the unspoken language of a father's love. A little while later, the rain outside still a relentless roar, but inside the air was considerably warmer. Trieu Duong stood up, his joints stiff from the long watch. He gently touched one of the small shirts, his fingers exploring the fabric. It was still slightly damp to the touch, not yet completely dry, but distinctly warmer, no longer sodden and cold. It was a victory, however small. He exhaled a soft breath, a slow, silent release. The suffocating tension in his heart slowly began to ease, replaced by a quiet sense of accomplishment. He turned to look at his daughter, his eyes softening with an overwhelming tenderness and relief. "It's okay now," he said, his voice gentle and firm, a promise whispered into the glowing room. "Papa won't let you be cold." Outside, the rain showed no signs of abating. The droplets continued their steady, ceaseless descent, enveloping the entire world beyond their protective walls in a gray, watery shroud. But inside that small home, that tiny sanctuary, a fire still burned, quietly, resiliently, like the enduring, unyielding love of a father, a constant flame against the darkness and the storm. And in that soft glow of firelight, not only were the clothes gradually drying, piece by precious piece, but a childhood was being kept warm and safe through every rainy, windy day, sheltered by a father's unwavering ingenuity and devotion. Today's story pauses here, leaving us with a powerful image of resilience. But the challenges and the arduous journey of Trieu Duong and his daughter are far from over. Will this father and daughter be able to overcome the relentless hardships and build a more stable, secure life for themselves? And what unforeseen trials and triumphs lie ahead on the long, uncertain path of Duong and his beloved daughter Truc Lam? All will be revealed in the upcoming episodes. If you found solace, inspiration, or simply enjoyment in this story, please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel for more heartfelt narratives, and turn on notifications so you're always updated. Thank you all for watching. We deeply appreciate your presence and support. See you in the next video.